The morning air in Washington, D.C. felt different that day. Heavy, tense, and strangely quiet. The cherry blossoms along the streets had just begun to bloom, and their soft pink petals drifted gently across the sidewalks like they were trying to calm the city's heartbeat. But inside the crowded courthouse, nothing felt calm. And that's where our story begins, with a single dad, a veteran, and a moment that would test the strength of his honor more than the battlefield ever had. Michael Hayes, a decorated Army medic who had saved more lives than he could remember, stood at the center of the silent courtroom wearing his olive green service shirt. Around his neck hung the Medal of Honor. Resting against his chest like a final piece of truth, he refused to surrender. His 8-year-old daughter, Lily, sat quietly in the front row, hands folded, eyes wide with fear and confusion. Michael had shielded her from war, from hardship, from everything. Yet today she was forced to watch her father defend not just his medal, but his dignity. The judge, Judge Eleanor Price, adjusted her glasses and leaned forward, her tone sharp but controlled. "Mr. Hayes, you are ordered to remove that medal. This is a civilian proceeding. It holds no purpose here." A soft gasp spread through the room. Michael didn't move. He simply stood tall, breathing slowly, trying to keep his voice steady. "Your Honor, with respect, this medal is not a decoration. It's a memory of the men I served with. I can't take it off." Behind him sat a gallery of strangers, some sympathetic, some cold, some simply curious. A few held framed pictures of loved ones they'd lost overseas. Their eyes followed the medal like it carried the weight of their own grief. Judge Price narrowed her eyes. "This courtroom is not a monument, Mr. Hayes. Remove the medal or I will have it removed." Lily's small voice from the front row whispered, "Daddy, don't let them take it." Michael's throat tightened. "I won't," he whispered back. But inside he felt the fear. Not the fear of punishment. Not the fear of humiliation. This fear was different. It was the fear of being misunderstood, of having the deepest parts of his life questioned, dismissed, or treated like a costume he could just take off. He had come to court for something simple. A custody review hearing after moving from Texas to D.C. for a stable job. But some bureaucratic complaint had turned into a full examination of his capabilities as a father. Someone had told the court he suffered from emotional instability due to his service. Someone who didn't know him. Someone who didn't know Lily. Someone who didn't understand the quiet strength of a man who had survived the worst and still chose kindness every day. The judge tapped her pen, clearly losing patience. "Mr. Hayes, last warning." Before Michael could respond, the courtroom doors opened. A quiet murmur rippled through the audience as a woman in immaculate white navy dress whites walked in with calm authority. Her medals neatly aligned, her rank unmistakable. Admiral Caroline Whitford. People stood instinctively, not because they had to, but because her presence demanded respect. She walked straight toward Michael, her eyes fierce, determined. Judge Price blinked. "Admiral Whitford, this is highly irregular. You were not called to testify." The Admiral raised her chin. "Your Honor, I'm here because a grave mistake is about to be made. And because this man," she placed a hand on Michael's shoulder, "is one of the finest service members this country has ever known." Michael looked stunned. "Admiral, I didn't ask anyone to." "You didn't have to," she said softly. "Some acts of kindness don't need asking." The room fell silent again. The Admiral faced the judge with calm steel in her voice. "This medal stays." Gasps. Stillness. Anticipation thick enough to touch. In that moment even Lily smiled. And for the first time since arriving in the courtroom, Michael felt hope flicker inside him. A hope he desperately needed because the hardest part of the hearing was still ahead. The judge exhaled slowly, clearly annoyed yet unsettled by the Admiral's entrance. "Admiral Whitford, I understand your position, but this is a civilian courtroom. Your presence must be justified legally." The Admiral remained perfectly still. "Then let me justify it." She stepped forward, her uniform crisp against the polished wood panels of the courtroom. "I commanded the mission where Michael Hayes earned that medal. I am here because someone must say what he cannot." The judge reluctantly nodded. "You may proceed." Michael lowered his eyes, humbled. He never wanted attention. He never wanted praise. He only wanted to protect his daughter, provide for her, and live quietly after a life full of noise. The Admiral began. "Your Honor, Mr. Hayes saved 9 lives the night he earned that medal. He did so without hesitation. And when an explosion pinned me under debris, he risked his own life to pull me free. He carried me across uneven terrain with shrapnel in his leg. And when the extraction helicopter arrived, he refused to board until every wounded soldier was safely inside." Lily listened intently, tears shimmering in her eyes. The judge cleared her throat. "Mr. Hayes, are you suffering any lasting trauma from the war?" Michael swallowed. "Your Honor, I have memories. Everyone does. But I go to counseling. I work full-time. I take care of my daughter. I am not broken." The Admiral nodded. "He is one of the strongest men I know." The judge glanced at the paperwork before her. "Then explain why you've been late twice to school pickups." Michael took a breath. "Because I work the early shift at the D.C. Veterans Medical Center. On those days, the bus routes were changed due to repairs. I got caught in traffic. I was never more than 12 minutes late." The Admiral added, "And he called both times." The teachers confirmed it. Judge Price seemed to wrestle with conflicting thoughts. Behind the courtroom windows, the sound of a distant helicopter passing over the city echoed faintly, reminding Michael of places he tried not to remember. Then something happened that no one expected. A woman in the gallery stood up holding a framed picture. She spoke softly, her voice trembling. "Your Honor, I'm not part of this case. But that man, Michael Hayes, he saved my son." The judge looked startled. "And you are?" "Rebecca Collins. My son, Private Andrew Collins, wouldn't be alive if not for him. I flew from Chicago when I heard this hearing might affect his custody of his daughter." One by one, others in the gallery rose, each holding a photo. A man with graying hair. "He treated my brother after an ambush. He refused to leave him." A woman in a floral blouse. "He wrote letters to families who never got to say goodbye." Another voice. "He drove through the night just to attend my nephew's funeral." It was no longer testimony. It was a quiet uprising of gratitude. A random act of kindness, multiplied across lives, returning to him when he needed it most. The judge pressed a hand against her forehead, overwhelmed. "I've never seen anything like this." Michael felt his chest tighten. "Please, everyone, you don't have to." The Admiral placed her hand over his. "They do. Because kindness echoes, Michael. It always does." He breathed shakily. He had never expected kindness to come back for him. He had never imagined strangers would fight for him. The judge finally raised a hand. "Enough. I have heard what I need to hear." The room fell still, completely silent. Outside, a gentle breeze moved the courthouse flags, and the sun cast soft golden light through the high windows like a quiet blessing. Judge Price's voice softened. "Mr. Hayes, you are a good father, a devoted father, and this court sees no reason to question your custody." Lily gasped with joy. Michael closed his eyes, relief washing through him. And then, Judge Price added something no one expected. "And you may keep your medal on." The gallery erupted, quietly, respectfully, in soft applause and tears. But the story wasn't over yet, because the Admiral had one more gift to give him. When the courtroom settled, the Admiral turned to Michael. "I need a moment outside with you." They stepped into the warm afternoon sunlight, the sound of distant traffic and buses rumbling along Constitution Avenue filling the air. People walked past, unaware that a quiet miracle had just happened inside the courthouse. Lily skipped happily beside her father, holding his hand tightly. Michael looked at the Admiral. I don't know how to thank you. You already have, she said gently. You just don't realize it. He frowned slightly. What do you mean? The Admiral smiled. 5 months ago I had surgery. Complications. It was your medical report and your follow-up call that convinced the doctors to reevaluate my symptoms. They caught the infection in time. You saved me all over again. Michael blinked. I didn't know. You weren't supposed to. You weren't looking for recognition. That's why you deserve it. Lily looked up at the Admiral. Are you my daddy's friend? The Admiral knelt down. I'm one of the many people your daddy has helped. And I'm honored to know him. The girl smiled proudly. He's the best daddy. Michael felt tears sting his eyes, but he blinked them away. The Admiral stood again. You know, there's something else. A position at the Pentagon just opened. A family-friendly schedule. Benefits. Stability. And they need someone with medical experience who understands real service. Michael's breath caught. You're not saying. I am, she replied. If you want it, it's yours. Lily nearly jumped. Daddy, that means more time with me. Michael knelt and hugged her tightly. Yes, baby, it does. The Admiral walked toward a waiting black SUV. You deserve a life of peace, Michael, and you've earned this chance. With a quiet salute, she entered the vehicle and drove away. Michael and Lily stood beneath the cherry blossoms, petals drifting around them like tiny blessings. And as they walked down the sidewalk, hand in hand, something shifted inside him. The world, once heavy, suddenly felt lighter. Not because he had won, but because kindness, quiet, unexpected kindness, had changed everything. Weeks later, Michael began his new job. A reliable schedule, supportive coworkers, and a peaceful routine allowed him to take Lily to school every morning. They often stopped by their favorite park overlooking the Potomac River, where tourists cycled, joggers passed quietly, and families enjoyed picnics beside the water. Life wasn't perfect, but it was gentle, and every now and then, when he touched the metal resting against his chest, he remembered what the Admiral said. Kindness echoes, always, and it had carried him farther than fear ever could. Dear viewers, if this inspiring story touched your heart, please take a moment to comment your thoughts below. Your voice matters more than you know. If you felt the power of kindness, courage, and love in this story, please like this video, share it with your friends and family, and help spread a message the world truly needs. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel Kindness Quest for more emotional, uplifting stories that remind us of the good still left in humanity. Thank you for supporting kindness. Thank you for being here. And thank you for believing that compassion still changes lives.